don't know they're positive, therefore they may be positive and you don't have time to contact trace them because you don't know they have it. So you're missing that opportunity.
Yes, and I think, again, Tony mentioned earlier how the US has scaled up the capacity to test, and it's really important that we identify all confirmed cases. We need to test suspect cases. We need those cases to be isolated. And it is difficult in very intense environments. It's difficult to do the kind of detailed contact tracing. But in Congo, in Ebola, at the peak of the outbreak, we were tracing 25,000 contacts a day in the middle of a war zone. It is possible to do contact tracing, even in the most difficult circumstances, but it does require a real scale-up in public health capacity, and where that can be done and the virus can be pushed back, we can save lives.
Dr. Will Ripley, a correspondent for CNN, Will Ripley is in Tokyo, and I know he has a question for you. Will, go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Anderson. Dr. Ryan, in less than an hour, the Olympic torch is going to be arriving here in Japan, and officials continue to insist that they're moving forward with plans to host the Olympics on schedule at the end of July. They point to the relatively low number of confirmed infections here. It's around 900 for a country of 125 million people. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has not enacted emergency law despite having the ability to do so, pointing to that low infection rate. But the thing is, here in Japan, they're testing a tiny fraction of what they're testing in other countries. The latest numbers that we got from the health ministry on Tuesday indicated that Japan had tested around 15,000 people. South Korea is testing 15,000 people a day. So how can the world feel confident that Japan has the coronavirus situation under control? Can the world feel confident given that we're seeing such limited testing here?
Dr. Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, your numbers are correct, but remember again, when you look at that test per million population, that 13,000 tests, if you look at testing per million around the world, the UK has tested 450 per million, whereas that's 10 times that in Korea, and Japan and others sit somewhere in between. So from that perspective, and we spoke with our Japanese colleagues today online, and they really have worked very hard on identifying clusters of disease and really working hard on contact tracing and isolating those contacts and quarantining those contacts. So I have no reason to believe that they're not making progress in Japan. And the Olympics is a major global event, as are other events in the world. And I think Japan still has hope that the Olympics may go ahead. But that is going to be based on a risk management decision. And obviously the government of Japan and the IOAC, with advice and inputs from us, will not make a decision to go ahead if there's danger to athletes, danger to spectators. And a lot of that will depend on how the disease evolves in the coming few weeks.
Yeah, Dr. Ryan, I want to thank you very much for joining us. I know how busy you are, and I want to thank Will Ripley as well. Sanjay, this is a question that was sent into Facebook via Facebook, and I want to read this. It says, how long does the virus stay in the system? A study stated up to 37 days a patient can still shed the virus. Is that accurate? I think that was like a kind of more of an outlier, but explain.
Yeah, I mean, look, we are still collecting data. As you know, we interviewed, I think it was Carl last week at the town hall, and I don't remember how many days total. He was getting tested every other day. What you hear from most people, and Dr. Fauci just sort of repeated this earlier, was up to 14 days. The quarantine sort of time period is based on the fact where they think most people will no longer be shedding virus at that point. But clearly, and by the way, the typical amount is around 5 days. But clearly there are some outliers, and that's going to affect, I think, how we think about quarantines and how we think about contact tracing, which you were bringing up earlier, Anderson.
It is, I talked to Dr. Fauci about this. And I don't want to kind of relitigate the past, but just the failure of testing in this is extraordinary. I mean, this is. I mean, you hear Dr. Ryan talking about America has the greatest the healthcare and public health system, and yet they're still talking about they're efforting those tests, and efforting is not a verb.
No, I know, and I think Will was obviously giving some really important data about Japan as an example as well. And look, I'm not quite sure how to think about this, but I think the idea that obviously again, there's this balance between wanting to do the public health sort of job here, but also not wanting to alarm people. So, would you under test, for example, in Japan, because you really don't want to jeopardize the Olympics? You don't want to sort of, alarm people. It's not the right answer, obviously, Anderson, to do that. But these are countries that can test. They've obviously had examples of other countries around the world that are testing. So you do have to ask, what happened here and what happened in Japan? Was it just failures? Or is there under testing for some particular reason? It's going to be interesting to see when we look back on this, even in the next several days or weeks.
Yeah. Coming up, I talked to Bill de Blasio last night. He said he'd like to see the U.S. military play a role in New York.